Howdy, howdy. The first
Because
water hash that I made was 1988.
wow. So Sam, with that said, like, what screens were you using? Like, I'm
I
always
was not
curious to,
using screens. We would
Off the
got
use
it.
filter.
we would get dry buds, grind it up with like a coffee bean grinder, and
Hmm.
dump it in big, tall, uh, like several liter glass jars, and
Hmm.
the resin would sink down to the bottom, and you'd wash it once or twice to get rid of the the floating crap and to make the water cleaner, and then you treated it like water hash. But the yield wasn't quite as good as with multiple bag system like Marcus came up with a decade later. But
Right.
it it absolutely did work. But to be honest, I didn't make a whole lot of it because even though the yield of dry sift was much lower, uh, I preferred dry sift. To me, it was the gold standard, and so that's what I made.
Yeah, that
But
makes sense because the one thing I was hanging out with Mojave and Rob Clark, and one thing he said that you would always say is that gold sinks and shit floats. And I just thought it was the funniest thing that we were just like sitting there and he just says that all of a sudden. I'm like, that's really funny you say that, but how would you get to that? And then you just saying what you just said made it all make sense to me because you're using jars and the gold would sink and the shit would float.
Yeah, we
Um,
uh, Rob took a lot of pictures of the processing, and
yeah.
it was actually showed to me in 1988 by Neville at Cannabis Castle, and some American guy, I think his name was Mike, I don't actually remember at the moment. He had showed him, and a week later, me and Rob went over and visited Neville, and he showed us, and I thought it was really interesting, but I didn't do it a whole super lot because I like dry sip better.
Was that because
Speaking
of
of the
the terp preservation? You know,
No, it's
because when it
because
gets,
I invented static tech, and I could
yeah,
clean up dry sift to 99.9. Now
right. So you didn't feel a need.
the yield was incredibly low, but
Got it.
when you make
but
water hash, depending on the variety you're using, uh, you will lose some of the terps, etc. I mean,
Right.
that's why the water, smells so terpy, is
Right.
because
Right.
you're
and did
losing.
it matter that the yield was so low when you had access to a fair bit?
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, I
Makes sense.
never ran out of herbal cannabis. I mean, I had, massive
Trust me,
amounts.
dude. I saw it. I saw the wall of 55-gallon barrel drums, blue ones filled.
As far as the bubble bags go, I was thinking about, rejogging my memory. These were the